Hey guys, new day, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna continue and make this part 2 of finishing off the cargo rack. What we're gonna end up doing is I decided I will show you guys how I'm going to make sure that these planks of wood actually stay curved. Starting from when I cut them, I'll dip them in the water so that they can get saturated, and then that way they'll be easier to bend. We'll stick them out in the sun, and that way when they dry out, they'll sit curved. So that's kind of the idea right there. They're all down to about 24 inches, and they all have already a natural curve. What I'm going to do is kind of exploit that to help me, because I'm trying to keep the curve going straight across like this. That way it actually adds a little bit of rigidity to anything that I might place up here. So what I'm going to do now, because I know for a fact that they all fit perfectly the way that I need them to, I'm going to take them and put them in a water bath, let them sit for maybe about a half hour, pull them out, and then I'll show you guys how I make sure that they're going to stay to their curve. So the point of the water bath is when all the fibers in the wood is soaked, it makes them a little bit stronger. So what that's going to help is when I go to actually bend them and leave them permanently bent, they won't crack when they dry out. So this is going to help them keep that shape, so that when we put it back up on the rack, it'll actually keep the curve over the center how I need it to. So while those are soaking, I'm going to rip this guy out, and I'm going to start grinding down all those old welds, making sure that it all looks nice and pretty. Make sure I get all these bolt holes drilled through so that the bolts land perfectly centered how I need them to. And then afterwards, I'll show you guys how I'll make sure that the planks stay curved. Alright guys, all grounded back. I also use the flap wheel so it gets it decently smooth. It's probably about an 80 grit. I gotta hit it probably with a 120 to about 300, and then Val's gonna hit it with primer, and then I'll sand back the primer, and then that should give us a nice smooth finish, and it'll fill in on any of these little pinholes. And then after that, then we can insert the slots, mark out with our holes so that we can drill out and be able to fasten it down. And now the wood's been soaking for about an hour or so. It's kind of gotten a little mucky from the concrete block, but we're gonna yank him out of here, and then I'll start finding its natural curve, because it has it, just the wood grain itself has a little bit of a curve from it drying previously. And then we'll make sure that it dries kind of to where we need it at, and then we'll leave it further out here in the sun so that I can dry out as much as it can with the curve that I need for the rack itself. So here's the idea. What I did is spread them all out, pretty similar to how they were sitting in the bin, and I took 2x2 on each side with a 2x4 in the middle. I put a 2x4, nothing thinner, not as thin as what it's going to be on the car, because we want it more of a gradual curve, not as sharp as it could be if it was a smaller piece of material in the middle. So we did that, and then as the sun warms it up, dries it out, it's then going to end up just staying in that position. And then when we go to install it on the actual rack, it won't fight us, and it won't bend that middle support downwards as much. And then what we can do is then secure it in place with 3 screws on each plank, and then that way it'll actually have its bow, which is then going to be the support for all of the weight that we put on here. There you go, guys, just like that. One day out after being soaked in water and then just sitting out to dry, and we have our curvature. Kind of tell on the ground right there. That should be plenty to give us that rigidity that we're looking for right there. Look at that. So now all I gotta do is just take it home, sand it down, stain it, clear it, and then we'll be able to install it on the actual rack after we get it painted. Alright guys, back at headquarters. I'm gonna come in now and just sand each individual one. I'm not gonna do too heavy of a sanding, just with about 220. I just want it to be smooth but still have a little bit of texture so that the stain will adhere really well. And then afterwards we're gonna hit it with a varnish so it gets that nice deep gloss. I'll sand the varnish a few times and then recoat it, and then at the end of it we may even hit it with a 2000 and hit it with an automotive clear so it gets that UV protection. Otherwise we'll just polish it out with 2000 and it's gonna look nice and glossy. Alright guys, there it is. Got all of the stain in. It was kind of the perfect amount that came out of it. I used the little mini roller and I just kind of spread it out evenly. The stain actually got in pretty good and it looks really good. The color's called Red Barn, but I would describe them more as a cherry, like a cherry red, kind of like the wood grain interiors on some cars. After this, it's just got to sit for probably about another half hour, and then I can start putting the urethane clear on it, the varnish. There we go, guys. First coat of varnish on top of it. It's still kind of sucking it in just because the wood in and of itself is actually really dry, and right now it's really warm outside. So after this, I gotta let it for about 6 to 8 hours dry some more, and then I'll sand it down and put another couple coats on it. The can on for the varnish says that it is an outdoor varnish, so it should last pretty well, which is good because then that means we don't have to really bother with any automotive clear, because the clear itself is going to last pretty good. After this, just sand it, another couple of coats, and it's going to look awesome. Alright guys, jumping ahead back to Valentine's place. The rack is in primer. It's not looking too bad. It actually came out better than I expected, considering it was all pretty much handmade. It's kind of crazy to think that it all started out just from a bunch of pieces of flat stock, and then we got it to curve, and then we did the C channel in here so we can fit all the little slats of wood in. I'm gonna cut it off here, and you guys are gonna see it completed and on the car in the next video. kind of do a little cliffhanger. It's gonna look good. That cherry red with the gloss clear on the varnish for the wood, with this thing all blacked out. It's gonna look awesome on the black roof. So with that, stick with me. It's been about 2 weeks since the last video, just because been busy with other stuff. Other than that, it's kind of gonna get really exciting when we start just putting it all together. If you guys follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, you would have seen that the car is at home now. So I just got to do a really nice deep cut to the whole thing, put on a good layer of protection so that we can drive it around with no worries. And then get this guy installed. I already got the hardware, so I'll show you guys what I did with that, with the reveal of the rack on top, and then just kind of the finished product. I got a little surprise for you guys. It's gonna look really cool, pretty neat. It's gonna be a little, I guess you could call it nostalgic, just the idea and the look that I'm going for. So if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, anything for the good of the order, go ahead and leave it down below, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks.